right, so the already 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, has been sworn in. He is now the President. He is back. The website for the White House has been changed. It now reads, America is back. This is at the luncheon where President Trump did say that the former president attended his inauguration speech, but he was not sure if they will attend the luncheon. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. But I also want you to look at the screen. That is Melania Trump. Her dress code is very significant all through the inauguration ceremony until now, and people are talking about it on social media. So this is at the luncheon, a lunch for guests. It's a formal lunch which is being held at the Statutory Hall, where Trump will dine with his allies and supporters. We do understand that a modified inauguration parade will be held around the Capital One Arena, which Trump will attend after the luncheon. The Trump signing ceremony will also happen, where he is expected to sign executive orders at the White House later this afternoon. Then there will be 3 inaugural balls that will take place: the Liberty Ball, the Commander-in-Chief Ball, and the Union Station Ball. So that is what is expected to happen from now on after the luncheon at the Capitol Hill, at the Statutory Hall at the Capitol Hill. He is dining with his supporters and also allies. This was a historical event for the United States. He did say the golden age of America begins right now. He also said in his inaugural address that his leadership will be a peacemaker and a unifier for the United States and for the world. Trump also hit out at Biden administration and its handling of the migrant crisis. Once again, you are watching WION The World is One. This is happening in the United States of America right now. President Trump, we'll have to get used to that, is dining with his supporters and allies. Let's talk to Jonathan Watchell, the former senior policy advisor and also director of communications and senior policy advisor at the U.S. mission to the United Nations, global affairs analyst, and he's also a co-founder of civic tech company. He's now joining us on this broadcast. Thank you for joining us. What do you make of Donald Trump's speech, both at the inauguration ceremony and later when he addressed his supporters?
You know, Eric, it was certainly reminiscent of some of the speeches that we saw, and you followed, of course, your channel and channels around the world focused on the race between Trump initially against Biden and then against Kamala Harris. It was somewhat toned down, but still very strong, very aggressive in terms of his agenda and what he sets out to do, and not mincing words and directly taking certain positions already in the sand and ready to go at it as the president of the United States. So certainly a forceful, arguably a nationalistic type of speech. You know, you and others around the world are watching it and feeling the energy from it. I do want to point out, Eric, how unusual this is in terms of coverage, worldwide coverage. Sorry about that, I'm getting interfered. It is, you know, I've covered these inaugural moments, and the focus on the pageant and pomp and circumstance here
Right.
is so much greater from your channel and others around the world because of the significance of what is happening, because the reverberations of the Trump administration was felt very solidly around the world, and the world is bracing for yet another experience with this man at the helm of one of the strongest nation in the world. And though you have the largest democracy in the world, certainly a powerful partner in terms of democracies in the world order.
Mr. Jonathan, now that you're talking about that, let's talk about the optics then, because you brought in a very interesting point, and I think very many people have noticed it. I just want us to talk about it briefly. What do you make of what Melania Trump is wearing? Because she visibly is sending a message. She's wearing a hat all through the inauguration ceremony. Even now, she's still wearing the hat. And she's the First Lady of the United States of America.
You know, there's certainly, if you look at the English tradition, for instance, and the Queen wearing a hat, that is such a common thing. So one cannot help but make that correlation. The other thing is it carries with it some sort of sense of being subdued. I may have different opinions coming through and looking at this. I'm just sharing my own observation here. Definitely, pardon me. I just want to let you know that your programming is bleeding in. That's not my end. So if you can eliminate that, that would be terrific. I know how hard television can get.
I'm really
but in
sorry
terms
about that.
of outfit, it certainly carries a certain demure sense to her position as the First Lady of the United States.
Jonathan, stay with me. Let me introduce our correspondent, Susan Teherani. She's joining us from New York. Susan, how is the mood right now? The speeches have been done. The new president, made 2 speeches. All of them, they were long speeches. What is the reaction from your end?
So I've been standing outside of Trump Tower during our broadcast. I heard the inauguration speech and I watched an inauguration ceremony at a watch party here at Trump Tower. So you can imagine that the mood here is very jubilant, is one of hope, is one of, looking forward to the future. A part of President Trump's speech, you could visibly see the crowd very happy. They erupted in cheers at times, notably when he talked about how he's going to declare 2 genders, men and women. That was a point that here the crowd was very happy with. And of course, looking to the futures, securing the border, drill baby drill, bringing back American energy independence. Those were really the points that he hit, and he hit those in the campaign trail as well, that his supporters here at Trump Tower were visibly very happy with. Usually during these times like this, there would be counter protesters outside of Trump Tower. I know I've heard that there's been some gathering across New York City here and there, very small because of the weather. A lot of people decided to stay in, whether to have watch parties inside or whether to, be a little bit somber perhaps because their candidate didn't win. But I think all in all, because there has been so many concerns regarding the economy and the border. Those are issues that resonate with New Yorkers as well. They're hoping to see what President Trump will do. Of course, making campaign promises is one thing. He said that he's going to carry them out, but perhaps they'll take a lot longer than anticipated. I know that the deportations are going to start from day 1. That's tomorrow. But again, how it's going to pan out, how these executive orders are going to pan out is going to be, something to watch out for as well. But there's a mood of hope, a mood of jubilation. It's going to be very different, of course, than the previous 4 years. But I think Americans are ready for that.
All right. Jonathan, you heard it from Susan that it's going to be a different 4-year term for Donald Trump. And there are specific things that Donald Trump did mention that I think were highlighted in his inauguration speech. Issues to do with the border, issues to do with gender, issues to do with racism. What do you make of that? What do you make of what the president said about especially gender? He says that in the coming days, he wants America to be saying like there are two genders, the male and the female gender.
Right. I mean, this country, and I understand that it's the type of thing that in a lot of nations, certainly in Western countries, has come front and center. You just look at the controversy over J.K. Rowling, for instance, in the United Kingdom and elsewhere, that this whole gender issue really has come front and center. It really has been the ire of conservatives who feel like it's a drift away from traditional family structure and societal structure, and really this level of intolerance for it that really bubbled over, and we have seen it play out certainly at the polls. So he is dead set on doing that. Now, we have to be honest, the United States is a country made up of 50 states, and there are states' rights. So as much as the president would like to see sweeping change, there are states that are going to put up a fight and maybe not even fight, do nothing about it because they're not legislated to do it because of states' rights. But certainly this is a chorus, it is a call, it's something that he feels very strongly, and it is going to be very controversial within this country. We've already seen it be very controversial, and certainly the other side, the progressive side, is not going to lie down. They'll put up a fight.
So when it comes to the issue of Panama and the issue of Mexico being called America, the Gulf of America, how will that pan out for President Trump?
There certainly is this element of national pride that goes through that, and of course globalists look at this and multilateral minded people are horrified to hear that. But people who look at the United States as a supreme power and looking at the legacy of the Panama Canal and concern about China, it is resonating. It is picking up traction amongst many people in the country. So I would anticipate that certainly there will be a move to change the status quo back to something anti. And try to bring back a situation within Panama and within control of the canal, in which there's no question about U.S. navigation rights and not kowtowing to China, for instance. So it is dead serious, actually. So I'd anticipate that will be something that will be looked at very carefully at the beginning of the campaign, and you will be covering it, as will many people around the world.
Do you think that will define his presidency?
I'm sorry?
Do you think that will define his presidency?
I think many different things will define his presidency. How he manages to deal with the economy, how the military, you heard a lot about his talk about the military, about whether indeed he is able to bring about a peaceful settlement of the ferocious Russian-Ukraine war. Right. These are all extremely important topics that need to be looked at. But in terms of the United States, in terms of domestic policy, it's really the economy, and then some of these social issues like what he accuses the progressives of injecting into the United States, this wokeism, as he refers to it, gender identity, things like that are going to define him in ways that certainly the history books in this country will be looking at very carefully, because it will bring about a sweeping change. And I've left out, of course, the migrant crisis at the border and how that is handled. And, President Trump is going to enjoy a Congress that is majority Republican. So there is going to be, at least for the next couple of years, an opportunity for him to push through legislation and policy and get endorsement for that policy a lot easier than many presidents before him would have faced.